Alright guys, so today we're checking out the Taotronics SoundLiberty 94. Now before we really get into this video, I do want to point out the big issue that I have, not necessarily with this product in general, but more so with the brand itself and how they name their products and how they package their products. This may seem like a nitpicking thing, but the way that they name their products, I actually have three of their items in front of me. One is the SoundLiberty 94s, we have the SoundLiberty 92, the SoundLiberty 88, and I think I've even had a 70 something number. My point is, there's not really anything in the name that differentiates one from the other. I mean, it's going to be really hard to remember what 94 does that 92 doesn't, or what 88 does. So I really think they should work on their naming. But another thing about this company is their packaging. Every single one of these boxes look exactly the same. It's just a simple white box. It says SoundLiberty, whatever number or model the product is on the outside. You do have an orange accent of the box that's inside of here, but it's hard to tell one product from the other. In fact, I even have a product that another company sent me, which is from the company iTechnic. And the packaging is exactly the same as the Taotronics, except the accent color on this box is green. But now that I've got that out of the way, we'll go back to checking out the SoundLiberty 94s. And the reason I wanted to check these out specifically is because they have hybrid active noise canceling and their retail price is $60. And in fact, right now on Amazon, with their coupons and a discount, you can actually pick it up for only $47. So for under $50, you're able to get hybrid active noise canceling, and you're also able to get an ambient mode, which is important to a lot of people. So I figured we'd check out some of the other features, what you get inside the box, and see if it's actually worth the $60 or $50 price tag. So I want to start with the fact that these are using a 9.2 millimeter dynamic driver, and the dynamic driver in these definitely is pushing a whole lot of low end. We'll talk about that when we talk about the sound. As far as the technology goes, it is using Bluetooth 5.1. They have AAC and SBC playback, and I didn't have any issues as far as dropouts or anything like that. But I did have some pairing issues in the beginning. It just didn't show up on my list of devices to connect. I pulled them out of the case. I had to turn them off, turn them back on. I had to do this several times, and eventually it did show up. And once I connected, I didn't have any issues. It just kind of auto-connected from there. But I did want to point out that it didn't just work right out of the box the way that it should have. Now, as far as the IP rating on these, they do come in rated at IPX5, so this is not going to be a pair that you can submerge into water, but it is going to be a pair that you can use while you're running or going to the gym. You don't have to worry about sweating or if it starts to rain, so it is nice to know that you can use them that way. Now, as far as what you're getting inside the box, you are getting the usual small, medium, and large silicone ear tips, and as far as the charging cable, they've included a USB-C cable. And speaking of the charging cable, the battery life on these are just okay. If you're going to use these with the noise canceling turned on, you're going to get around 5 hours on the earbuds with around 20 hours using the case. But if you decide to use these with the noise canceling off, you're going to get a little bit more battery life because you're going to get 8 hours on the earbuds and around 32 hours total using the case. And I want to go ahead and say this right now. If you are buying these specifically for noise canceling, there is not much of a difference between the noise canceling being on and being off. You can tell that it starts to try to cut out on a little bit of the low end noises. So if you have like air conditioner units, or if you're flying on a plane, it's going to try to block out those low rumble type noises, but everything else comes through just as clear as if you're using these with the noise canceling off. So I would just recommend using these with the noise canceling off unless you're traveling or you're in situations where you're trying to block out those engine noises. Now, moving over to checking out the case of the earbuds, I did notice that the case resembles the case of the Galaxy Buds Plus quite a bit. It is a little bit larger than that case, but this is still a very small, compact case. It's easy to throw in your pocket. On the back, you can see the USB-C input for charging, and then around on the front, you have 4 indicator lights. That way you can kind of gauge how much battery life is left on the case. Now moving over to checking out the earbuds, I do want to say that this is one of the most comfortable pair of earbuds that I've used. It's because of the way that they have the groove of the design on the inside. It just kind of fit my ear canal perfectly. It didn't move around, and I found that this was a pair that I could use most of the day and not have any discomfort. Now, as far as the controls on here, I'm happy to say that you have control over everything. So on top of having the normal play, pause, skipping your tracks forward, going backwards, turning your volume up, turning your volume down, you also have the ability to turn the noise canceling on or off. And then on the other ear, you have the ability to turn your ambient mode on. And the ambient mode in here is actually pretty decent. You can tell that the microphones are pulling everything in very nicely, but it is adding a lot of noise when you're using this mode. So the microphones seem to be really sensitive, so it's just picking up air and it just has this like constant hiss type sound. So although you can hear your surroundings clearly, it is kind of annoying that you do have that sound while using these. Now, as far as you guys that like to use your earbuds individually, you'll be happy to know that you can use either the left or the right. And then as far as the microphones on here, I think this is an area where they did a decent job. I think if you're looking for an inexpensive pair to be able to take phone calls while you're at work or while you're out and about, I don't think a lot of people will have any complaints. But you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here.
All right, guys, so here is a mic test using the SoundLiberty 94s. I think overall it does a pretty decent job. I feel like it picks up my voice cleanly, but this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call. And so now here is a mic test for the crowd noise being played, which you can hear here. And so this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call public.
So now let's talk about the sound, and we're going to talk about the sound of these with using the noise canceling turned off, because like I said earlier, with the noise canceling turned on, in my opinion, it dulled down the bass and it just kind of flattened out the sound in a way that seemed like it just kind of let the life out of the audio. But with the noise canceling turned off, the bass is definitely boomy. You can tell it's even kind of like digitally enhanced in a way. It kind of sounds artificial at times. A lot of people are going to like this, especially if you listen to a lot of mainstream music. But when you get into genres like rock and metal, that bass for some reason just kind of rolls over the mids and the highs. It starts to sound muddy. It definitely pulls vocals down a little bit, and then it just pulls the sparkle that the treble has on these. Because I noticed with pop and hip hop and even like easy listening style genres, the treble was really nice and clean. It just kind of had this nice sparkle to it, and the mids on these sounded really good. I had no issues with male or female vocalists. Again, it just kind of depended on what genre I was listening to, because listening to pop and listening to metal had two completely different sound signatures. Now, as far as the sound stage and the sound imaging, it's not a very open sounding earbud. Because of that boomy bass, it makes me kind of feel like I'm more in a medium-sized room. But luckily, I didn't have any issues with telling where sounds were coming from. The only problem was they didn't sound very spacious and they didn't sound very open. So you just kind of felt like you were closed in a little bit more. And again, this is going to be fun with certain genres, but it's definitely going to ruin some of the others. So my overall conclusion on this is you have to go back and look at the price. You're getting active noise canceling that can block out lower rumble type noises. You are getting a pretty dynamic sound depending on what genre you're listening to. You're getting decent battery life. Being able to pick these up for $50 is obviously a nice plus, but I do have some cons that I wish that they would change. I really was almost immediately turned off when I was having the pairing issues at first. I wish that the case had either fast charge or Qi wireless charging. And then my big complaint about these is the ANC is just not that effective. It's just not blocking out as much of my surroundings as I'd like, especially when there are other ones in this price range. Like I said, like the Earphone Free Pro or the SoundPeats T2 that we just checked out. In my opinion, those are better options and they are around the same price. But guys, that's my video on the SoundLiberty 94s. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.